25 years ago, it was almost looked down upon to talk about who you were working with. That's the shift. It's that it's so meaningful, and that if you're doing a great job and you're architecting and creating these looks for the talent that you're working with and they're being seen, that cements the relationship.
Hi, Al.
Hi, Kate.
I'm excited to ask you some questions. Rewind 25 years. Paint a picture of what was happening in the industry and at the Wall Group.
Everyone was getting all of the iconic looks from magazines, from fashion editorials. That's what was super important at the time. Street styling, which didn't even have that name, what was actually happening on the streets and in the subcultures and in music. That's where the trends were driven from. Like for a long time, no one wanted to be seen looking at people in Us Weekly. It had a bad connotation. At that time, it started to shift over and people were interested in what was happening in Hollywood and celebrities in a different way.
On that note, because I think everyone's watching Love Story right now, that was really, right, like Carolyn Blissette's
Yes.
style, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s style. And they were on the cover of People magazine and Us Weekly. And I for sure was reading it every single day.
Yeah, that's a really good point because you see if you're watching the show, what it looked like looking at Kelly Klein. Like I worked with Kelly Klein free even Walmart days. So knowing that there wasn't a lot of publicizing of that. And that part of that was part of a mystique that everyone was trying to get around and to understand how to create it. Tell me a defining moment or something that you're the most proud of in all of these years at the Walmart.
One project that was such a collective effort across the agency. And it was such a big moment for us. Your friend that was a creative director at Walmart who lived in Brooklyn and said, listen, Walmart has this crazy idea, or we have this crazy idea that we want to honor all the work that's done behind the cameras in Hollywood leading up to the Oscars. We put together a really strong pitch. I want to say it was 4 or 5 of our big stylists that were featured in a huge commercial that aired during the Oscars. It was beautifully shot, and it captured like our artists working in different
Yeah.
scenarios behind the scenes. Like one night, I think was at Paramount Pictures. Yeah, that was huge.
What was interesting is they were featuring the grips and the lighting
Yeah.
technicians in the actual ad campaign. So it was the people working behind the scenes being styled and having their glam done by the other people who work behind the scenes in Hollywood and celebrating all of those unsung heroes.
You were here at the very beginning, joining founder Brooke Wall to build the business. What was the vision for the Wall Group at that time?
Be the best. I mean, Brooke Wall is so driven, so incredibly precise. Brooke made my life difficult at the beginning because it was every 6 months, like readdress what's the system? Is it working? What do we need to do? How are we making it better? You opened the Wall Group's LA office and you signed the first celebrity stylist. Did you anticipate that the business of the red carpet would turn into what it is today?
Definitely not. I think we represented 6 or 7 artists. At that time, I really didn't know anything about hair, makeup, styling outside of I knew Ashton Kutcher, who I worked for, had a groomer that would show up when he had press. Now looking back at it, I recognize the timing could not have been more perfect opening up the LA office. It exploded and we grew with that growth.
Coming from like 25 years ago, it was almost looked down upon to talk about who you were working with and to share that information in the industry. That's the shift. It's that it's so meaningful, and that if you're doing a great job and you're architecting and creating these looks for the talent that you're working with, and they're being seen in a new light because of the work that the hair, makeup, the stylist is doing, that cements the relationship.
You work closely with Frank V since the agency's earliest days. Is there a memory, personal story you can share with us?
Yeah. Okay. I have so many stories. Frank B., a beloved makeup artist, that was at the Wall Group. And actually, he was part of the reason that I joined the Wall Group. Frank suggested we should sound like a real business. We should sound like a law firm. We should be called the Wall Group. And so, really, the naming of the Wall Group he inspired that, and I always love that story. I've spent a lot of time on set with Frank. I've done a lot of work with him and been part of his career for so long. And when Milk Makeup came into existence 10 years ago, they were interested, and I helped create a deal for Frank to work with Milk Makeup. 10 years later, they came back and just signed Frank as their global artistic director.
I have a Frank B. funny story that I want to share. Frank came into the LA office when I was setting up a computer, I don't know, 20 years ago. And every one of my passwords now are, it's the wall group artists are behind some of the most memorable red carpet looks. Is there one that stands out to you?
The one that always comes to my mind, always, without fail, is Kate Young styling Michelle Williams in the yellow Vera Wang dress for the Oscars. That was such an iconic moment. It changed the game of what the red carpet was and what it could be.
One of my favorite looks is when Leslie Fremar styled Reese at the SAG Awards. It was one shoulder long dress.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it was,
I remember.
it was
Yeah,
so beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Reese's makeup was stunning. It was just young, fresh. What advice would you give to aspiring artists or those who are early in their career?
I absolutely love working and like meeting with aspiring artists and people who are just breaking into the industry. That passion and that drive and the eagerness and the excitement, and that comes with really wanting something and being willing to put yourself in the position to get there. When I think about young people who are trying to get into the industry, it's like really be willing. Okay, I'm going first because I have my word for Kate, and it is relentless. You get your sights set on something and you don't stop until it's done. You're really fair. You really value honesty. I don't know a bigger social butterfly. You're naturally a connector.
You are incredibly thoughtful. This is in line with that, but you are also very intentional with everything that you do. Allie is quietly fierce. If it's for your kids, if it's for an artist, if it's for, the incubator program, whatever it is, like you have this strength.
I'm sure it was calming.
Well, mine was probably what's for lunch.
I've always said you're pretty lesbian chic, Kate, and I think that's where our styles really align. We both like to look professional and feel great. Comfort's number one.
No heels and elastic waist preferred.
ADD is real.
Yep.
And it can be a superpower. At the end of a long day, you can keep going. I think like I need so much more quiet time.
One is to lean into difficult conversations. That is a superpower of yours. I feel like you're really good at hair. And whenever I'm having a bad hair moment and I don't know what to do and we are going somewhere, you show me how to flip my hair with like one of those flat irons, and you're kind of a hairstylist deep down.
Oh, it's a deep down hairstylist.
Ari brought in a breath work, like
Meditation,
therapist,
yeah.
right? Yeah, meditation. And so the first morning we sat down next to each other, and the therapist told everyone to look at the person next to them and hold their hands and look in each other's eyes for 5 minutes. In this moment, I haven't had that feeling since. But it's kind of like we're holding hands, looking at each other.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right? Yeah. So
That was a good moment. That
a
was it.
good memory.
We'd already been through so much of our lives together. And I think that's what gets lost sometimes when you think about running a business, but you're really in each other's day-to-day lives. And we start our days together and we end them together. We had been through marriages, children, deaths, and then divorces. Like
For those 5 minutes, how we've been talking the entire time. We were quiet the entire time, but we were having a conversation with each other and we knew exactly what we were saying to each other. There were just no words.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to call you to talk about work now.
Yeah, I know. Now we have to actually do work.